The light of dawn on August 24, 1979, streams through the streets of Pompeii as the city awakens. Bakers light ovens, merchants open shops, slaves carry water from public fountains. But there is something no one realizes. This will be the last normal day for this city. In a few hours, everything will be buried under ash and pumice, frozen in time as a perfect record of what it was like to live within the Roman system at the height of its efficiency. Pompeii is not just a city. It's an urban machine designed to extract wealth, organize hierarchies, and keep the empire running. And what makes this day extraordinary is not the tragedy that is about to happen. It's the absolute normalcy with which 20,000 people live, integrated into a system they never question, because it works perfectly well. Throughout this episode, you'll see how a Roman city truly operated. Not the Rome of emperors and the Senate, but a provincial city where the system is revealed in everyday life, in bakeries, baths, painted houses, graffiti on walls, and the slaves who drive the invisible economy. Pompeii is the empire on a human scale, and what happens here will preserve this system in detail, like no other city has left us. In the early morning hours, the city is already alive. Pompeii has about 20,000 inhabitants in less than 65 hectares of walled ground. The density is high, the streets are narrow, the noise is constant. Loaded carts cross the roads, leaving deep marks in the basalt stones. These marks are still there today, preserved by the eruption, like fossilized tracks of a system that never stopped. Bakeries are the first businesses to open. There are at least 30 bakeries scattered throughout the city, each equipped with stone mills powered by donkeys or slaves. The process is simple but constant. Grains are ground, the flour becomes dough, the dough is baked in wood-fired ovens. The bread that comes out feeds the entire city. When the eruption buries Pompeii, some of these loaves will be preserved, charred. Round, divided into 8 slices, marked with the baker's name. Perfect artifacts of a food system that depended on rhythm, repetition, and hierarchy. Because here's the first step. Food isn't produced by those who consume it. Pompeii imports almost everything. Wheat comes from Egypt and Sicily. Olive oil comes from Spain. Wine comes from Campania. The city is not self-sufficient. It exists because it's connected to a commercial network that crosses the Mediterranean, are protected by Roman fleets, regulated by standardized contracts, and fueled by a currency accepted everywhere. But it is not the free merchants who put the bread on the table. It is the slaves. In Pompeii, about a third of the population is enslaved. They grind wheat, carry amphorae, clean houses, cook, build. The Roman economy is driven by forced labor on an industrial scale. And the most remarkable thing is that this is completely invisible in the urban landscape. You walk around and see beautiful shops, painted houses, decorated temples. What you don't see are the people who sustain all of this without choice. So prosperity has a hidden price, and that price becomes apparent when you look at the houses. The residences reveal inequality in every detail. In the city center, there are luxurious mansions with open atriums, internal gardens, colorful frescoes, and intricate mosaics. These houses belong to the wealthiest families, successful merchants, landowners, men with political connections. A single mansion can occupy an entire city block. But most don't live like that. They live in Insulae, multi-story buildings divided into small, dark apartments, without running water, without gardens, without decoration. The difference between a domus and an insula is the difference between two worlds in the same city. The rich have space, the poor have density. And between the two, the Roman system establishes a visible hierarchy that no one questions because it is naturalized in architecture. At first glance, Pompeii appears to be a prosperous city where wealth is widespread. But in reality, it is a city where wealth is concentrated. The frescoes on the walls are not public art. They are signs of private status. The baths are not spaces of equality. They are places where hierarchies are reinforced. And what seems like shared prosperity is, in reality, a system designed so that a few accumulate much while many sustain the structure. And that's why we need to go into the hot springs. The baths are the social heart of Pompeii. There are at least 3 thermal complexes open to the public for a fee. Here, men and women bathe, exercise, converse, and conduct business at separate times. The baths function as social clubs where Roman citizenship is performed through a clean and relaxed body. It is a ritual that transforms individuals into citizens. But look closer. The thermal baths are fed by aqueducts that bring water from the mountains, heated by underground furnaces, maintained by slaves working in extreme heat, and distributed through lead pipes that contaminate the population. The comfort of some depends on the invisible labor of others. And access to hot water, which seems like a public good, reinforces those who can pay for the necessary free time. When water becomes concentrated in the hands of those who control the infrastructure, power also becomes concentrated. Meanwhile, in the streets, commerce continues. Pompeii has more than 100 shops, taverns, and workshops. There are vendors of fish, fabrics, ceramics, and agricultural implements. There are full owns, laundries that clean togas using urine collected in public containers. There are thermopolies, bars that serve hot food on stone counters. One of these thermopolies will be found intact, with food still inside the pots. These places reveal something important. Most people don't cook at home. Cooking requires space, firewood, utensils, and most people don't have any of that, so they eat on the street, buy bread at bakeries, drink wine in outdoor cafes, live in small spaces, and work in public spaces. Life happens outside the home. And this transforms the street into a constant stage for interaction, conflict, commerce, and surveillance. We gained urban efficiency, but we paid the price with privacy. And then, as the day progresses, small signs begin to appear. Light tremors shake the city. It's nothing unusual. Pompeii was already hit by a major earthquake 17 years earlier in 62. Many buildings are still being rebuilt. The tremors are part of a life here. Nobody connects this with Vesuvius, the mountain to the north. Because Vesuvius isn't seen as a volcano, it's seen as a fertile mountain covered in vineyards, a source of prosperity. But something is changing. Wells are beginning to dry up. Animals are behaving strangely. The air smells different. Small cracks are appearing in walls. These are signs that no one interprets correctly because there is no mental category for what is about to happen. Roman science has no concept of volcanic eruption. The word volcano doesn't even exist yet. Knowledge is lacking when the phenomenon has never been named. Meanwhile, the elite continue their routine. In the Domus, slaves prepare banquets. Tables are set up on tricliniums where people eat reclining. The food is a display of wealth, elaborate dishes, imported ingredients, theatrical performances. Eating is not just nourishment, it is a social performance. And these performances are preserved in the frescoes, scenes of parties, hunting, myths. But there is also another record. On the walls of the streets, graffiti covers almost every surface. Advertisements for gladiators, declarations of love, political insults, obscene jokes. Pompeii is a city that writes on itself. And what these texts reveal is that, beneath the monumental order of the empire, there is a chaotic, dirty, violent, sexual, funny, urban life. The empire controls the infrastructure, but it doesn't control what people write on the walls. Now broaden your perspective. Pompeii is not unique. There are dozens of cities like it, scattered throughout Italy and its provinces. Herculaneum, Stabii, Oplontis, all connected by the Appian Way, all functioning with the same model: walls, forum, temples, baths, theater, amphitheater. The empire doesn't invent new cities. It replicates a tested model, and this model works because it transforms urban spaces into tools for control, extraction, and integration. When you standardize the city, you standardize the experience of being a citizen. And that is the true legacy of Pompeii, not the tragedy of the eruption, but the frozen record of how the Roman system operated at the most basic level. Because when Vesuvius erupts this afternoon, everything will be preserved exactly as it was. Bread in the ovens, bodies in the streets, graffiti on the walls, frescoes in the houses, coins on the tables, tools in the workshops. The entire city will become a three-dimensional archive of a single day within the empire. What this archive reveals is that Rome was not just monuments and conquests. It was also structural inequality, forced labor, control through infrastructure, and the normalization of hierarchy through architecture. Pompeii shows that the empire functioned because people accepted living within a system that offered stability, trade, and shared rituals in exchange for limited freedom, accepted inequality, and concentrated power. We gained civilization, we paid with submission. And the compromise that humanity accepted was this: order in exchange for hierarchy, prosperity in exchange for slavery, belonging in exchange for control. Pompeii is a portrait of an ordinary day within a system that seemed eternal. But no system is eternal, and sometimes what seems most solid is what crumbles the fastest. If you want to continue exploring how major historical systems shaped everyday life, this channel reconstructs the past through cinematic documentaries based on historical evidence.